I'm speaking with Jill Guthrie, Dr. Jill Guthrie from the National Centre for Indigenous Studies at NCIS at Australian National University. Welcome to CCN, Jill.
Thanks, Gary.
Now, you're leading a study called Reducing Incarceration Using Justice Reinvestment. It's an exploratory case study, but you've based this study on the township of Cowra. Why would you choose Cowra?
There's a few reasons why we've chosen Cowra. One of them is that it actually doesn't have a prison as part of its, economic base, so that doesn't create a sort of a bias, I guess. Other reasons are that it's got a fairly stable population. There's not a lot of movement in and out. Its crime profile is relatively low in terms of the state profile, and a lot of those crimes are remedial sorts of crimes, so low-level crimes, which is a good, that's a kind of an underpinning thing about justice reinvestment. It's relatively close to the ANU, so in terms of just project management, that makes it easier as well. Yeah, and we've got some good links into the town through some of the locals there. Well, a particular local, Laurie Bamblett, who commutes between here and Canberra and Cowra, rather. So there's a few reasons why it works well as a town. Yeah.
The justice reinvestment, can you just give us a rough outline on how that works?
Well, justice reinvestment is a way of rethinking the criminal justice system, I guess. And it has its genesis in the United States, of about 15 years or so. It's been working in several states in the United States. And those states came to the realisation that their prison budgets were blowing out, and they needed to have a look at that situation, and they came to the realisation that rather than have their budgets blow out, they rethink that situation so that there's the political will not to spend money on new prison beds, but to bring that money up and actually spend it in the communities where most of the people that were committing the crimes were coming from anyway. And that sort of notion in the justice reinvestment theory is called million-dollar blocks. So it's that idea that most of the percentage of people who are committing crimes come from just a small number of neighbourhoods.
Right, so realistically, the money which would normally have been spent on prisons, you're hoping to get a bigger bang for your buck, I guess, out of re-education. Yes,
that's one element of it. And it's about that economic situation of not spending money on prison beds, and for a juvenile in juvenile detention for a year, it's something like 250,000 a year on a young person. For an adult, it's a bit less, but it's around the 200k in any case. So the realisation that spending that amount of money on an individual not only kind of young person away from their community, but it divests that money also away from the community. So why not spend, in this case, that 250k on the young person in their community? It's that kind of thinking. And therefore, hopefully they then become a more valued member of the community as such. But not only that, like the 250k that's spent on a young person is just one element of it. There's lots of social costs as well for their families and that have to visit them wherever they're sent away to. So there are lots of economic and social costs associated with it. And that can get multiplied by the number of young people that come from that town that it's sent away, Now, that money which is not spent on prisons, what sort of ways is that going to be spent, or
would you envisage that being spent to help?
Yep, that's part of what we're exploring through this research project. It's a hypothetical research project. There's absolutely no promise of any monies at the end of this. In many ways, that frees people up to actually be a little bit more creative. But it might be that it might need, for example, some more mental health workers, or some more drug and alcohol workers, or some more, I don't know, teachers' aides, or some more employment.
Counsellors or something,
Counsellors, that sort of thing. But these are the decisions that we would take back to the community in a community forum and say to the town, you've got this many young people who are currently in the JJ system away from town. If you had $1 million, and if you kind of equate that with literally what the JR concept is in the United States, around $1 million blocks, so you might say to the town, if you had $1 million, how would you like to spend that to bring your young people back so that they can return to town and kind of live meaningful lives and stop this cycle of recidivism? So in many ways it's whatever the town decides it might like to have. It's a 3-year-long project. We're just past the 12-month point now. So we've been interviewing some young people, some parents and grandparents and service providers. So we're now at the stage where we'll analyse those data that we've got there and take that back to a community forum that I mentioned. And at this stage that looks like it might be in about March next year. Obviously the feedback from that community forum also becomes part of the data that we collect. So it would be kind of constantly feeding that back to the community to say, does this resonate with you? Is this what you would want? And it also, JR as a concept also includes all those levels of government. So we would include the local federal member and the local state member and the local council, and in this case the Aboriginal Land Council as part of that governance system, for then the community to decide, well, what do we now want to happen with what we've uncovered in the town.
Yeah, make use of those stats and whatever. Now you've had a fair bit of cooperation, I believe, from the council.
Yes, very much, yes.
And you've recently had a meeting with the business chamber.
Yes, we have. The business chamber also, or the business sort of sector, also being an important element in the JR framework. So yeah, we're with the business chamber.
And you've still got more meetings to go with other people, I'm assuming?
We would like to interview some more young people if they're happy to be interviewed. We've interviewed something like, 20 service providers or something like that. About 14 young people at this stage, and also some young people through some focus groups. And about 4 parents at this stage, so it would be good to interview some parents as well if they were willing and happy to be interviewed. Another component, another kind of arm of the research is to interview young people from Cowra who are currently in the system, in the JJ system or the adult system. So we just have to go through the ethics process to access those young people, and then it would be for them to volunteer to be interviewed as well.
Now, is there any way a person listening to this who thinks they may have a contribution to make, is there a way of contacting you?
1-800 010 448, and that's a free call. So if they call that number, we can get back to them. There's also an email address, so it's just Cowra at anu.edu.au.
Right.
There's also a website about the research, which is an ANU website.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and let's hope that at the end of all these investigations and whatever, that we manage to keep more of our young people, one, out of the juvenile justice system, but as being contributing members of our community.
Yes, definitely. That'd be great. That's the hope out of this research project.